Alliances. That you may gain a still more concrete vision of just how this principle of organized effort can be made powerful, stop for a moment and allow your imagination to draw a picture of what would likely be the result if every church and every newspaper and every Rotary Club and every Kiwanis Club and every advertising club and every women's club and every other civic organization of a similar nature in your city or in any other city in the United States should form an alliance for the purpose of pooling their power and using it for the benefit of all members of these organizations. The results that might easily be attained by such an alliance stagger the imagination. There are three outstanding powers in the world of organized effort. They are the churches, the schools, and the newspapers. Think what might easily happen if these three great powers and molders of public opinion should ally themselves together for the purpose of bringing about any needed change in human conduct. They could, in a single generation, so modify the present standard of business ethics, for example, that it would practically be business suicide for anyone to try to transact business under any standard except that of the Golden Rule. Such an alliance could be made to produce sufficient influence to change, in a single generation, the business, social, and moral tendencies of the entire civilized world. Such an alliance would have sufficient power to force upon the minds of the oncoming generations any ideals desired. Power is organized effort, as has already been stated. Success is based upon power. That you may have a clear conception of what is meant by the term organized effort, I have made use of the foregoing illustrations, and for the sake of further emphasis, I am going to repeat the statement that the accumulation of great wealth and the attainment of any high station in life, such as constitute what we ordinarily call success, are based upon the vision to comprehend and the ability to assimilate and apply the major principles of the 17 lessons of this course. This course is in complete harmony with the principles of economics and the principles of applied psychology. You will observe that those lessons that depend for their practical application upon knowledge of psychology have been supplemented with sufficient explanation of the psychological principles involved to render the lessons easily understood. Before the manuscripts for this course went to the publisher, they were submitted to some of the foremost bankers and businessmen of America, that they might be examined, analyzed, and criticized by the most practical type of mind. One of the best-known bankers in New York City returned the manuscripts with the following comment, quote, "I hold a master's degree from Yale, but I would willingly exchange all that this degree has brought me in return for what your course on the law of success would have brought me had I been afforded the privilege of making it a part of my training while I was studying at Yale. My wife and daughter have also read the manuscripts, and my wife has named your course the Master Keyboard of Life, because she believes that all who understand how to apply it may play a perfect symphony in their respective callings, just as a pianist may play any tune when once the keyboard of the piano and the fundamentals of music have been mastered." Unquote. No two people on earth are exactly alike, and for this reason, no two people would be expected to attain from this course the same viewpoint. You should listen to the course, understand it, and then appropriate from it whatever you need to develop a well-rounded personality.
This is Napoleon Hill's self-analysis questionnaire as presented in Think and Grow Rich. Do you often complain of feeling bad? If so, why? Do you find fault with other people easily? Do you often make mistakes in your work? Are you sarcastic and obnoxious? Do you deliberately avoid anyone? Why? Does life seem futile and hopeless to you? Do you often feel self-pity? If so, why? Do you envy people who are more successful? Do you devote more time to thinking about success or failure? Are you gaining or losing self-confidence as you grow older? Do you learn from your mistakes? Are you permitting a relative or friend to worry you? Are you sometimes elated and sometimes depressed? Who is the most inspiring person you know? Do you put up with negative influences? Are you careless about your personal appearance? Do you avoid your troubles by being busy? Do you let other people do your thinking for you? Are you annoyed by petty disturbances? Do you resort to liquor, drugs, or cigarettes to calm you down? Does anyone nag you? Do you have an aim in life and a plan for achieving it? Do you suffer from any of the 6 basic fears? Do you have a way to shield yourself from the negative effects of others? Do you actively attempt to keep your mind positive? What do you value more, your physical possessions or your ability to control your own thoughts? Are you easily influenced by others? Have you learned anything of value today? Do you accept responsibility for problems? Do you analyze mistakes and try to learn from them? Can you name your 3 most damaging weaknesses and explain what you are doing to combat them? Do you encourage others to bring their troubles to you for sympathy? Does your presence have a negative influence on others? What habits in others annoy you the most? Do you form your own opinions or let yourself be influenced by others? Does your job inspire you? Do you have spiritual forces powerful enough to keep you free from fear? If you believe that birds of a feather flock together, what do you know about your friends? Do you see any connection between your friends and some unhappiness in your life? Is it possible that some close friend or associate has a negative influence on your mind? What criteria do you use to determine who is helpful to you and who is harmful? Are your intimate associates mentally superior or inferior to you? How much time out of every day do you devote to your occupation, sleep, play and relaxation, acquiring useful knowledge? Plain waste. Who, among your friends and family, encourages you the most, cautions you the most, discourages you the most? What is your greatest worry? Why do you tolerate it? When others offer you unsolicited advice, do you accept it without question or analyze their motive for giving it? What, above all else, do you desire? Do you intend to get it? Are you willing to subordinate all other goals for this one? How much time do you devote to it daily? Do you change your mind often? Do you usually finish what you start? Are you easily impressed by other people's business titles, college degrees, or wealth? Are you often concerned about what other people might think or say of you? Do you try to make friends with people because of their social status or wealth? Whom do you believe to be the greatest person living? How is this person superior to you? How much time have you devoted to studying and answering these questions? At least 1 full day is needed to truly answer these questions and contemplate your answers. If you devote that time, you will know more about yourself than most people know of themselves.
Analyze yourself. Take your measure. Make a self-analysis. If you will answer all these questions truthfully, you will know more about yourself than the majority of people. Study the questions carefully, come back to them once each week for several months, and be astounded at the amount of additional knowledge of great value to yourself you will have gained by answering the questions truthfully. If you are not certain concerning the answers to some of the questions, seek the counsel of those who know you well, especially those who have no motive in flattering you, and see yourself through their eyes. This program has been compiled for the purpose of helping you find out what are your natural talents, and for the purpose of helping organize, coordinate, and put into use the knowledge gained from experience. For more than 20 years, I have been gathering, classifying, and organizing this material. During the past 14 years, I have analyzed more than 16,000 men and women, and all of the vital facts gathered from these analyses have been carefully organized and woven into this course. These analyses brought out many interesting facts that have helped to make this course practical and usable. For example, it was discovered that 95% of all who were analyzed were failures, and but 5% were successes. By the term failure is meant that they had failed to find happiness and the ordinary necessities of life without struggle that was almost unbearable. Perhaps this is about the proportion of successes and failures that might be found if all the people of the world were accurately analyzed. The struggle for a mere existence is tremendous among people who have not learned how to organize and direct their natural talents, while the attainment of those necessities, as well as the acquiring of many of the luxuries, is comparatively simple among those who have mastered the principle of organized effort. One of the most startling facts brought to light by those 16,000 analyses was the discovery that the 95% who were classed as failures were in that class because they had no definite chief aim in life, while the 5% constituting the successful ones not only had purposes that were definite, but they had also definite plans for the attainment of their purposes. Another important fact disclosed by these analyses was that the 95% constituting the failures were engaged in work which they did not like, while the 5% constituting the successful ones were doing that which they liked best. It is doubtful whether a person could be a failure while engaged in work he liked best. Another vital fact learned from the analyses was that all of the 5% who were succeeding had formed the habit of systematic saving of money, while the 95% who were failures saved little. This is worthy of serious thought. One of the chief objects of this course is to aid you in performing your chosen work in such a way that it will yield the greatest returns in both money and happiness.
A good encyclopedia contains most of the known facts of the world, but they are as useless as sand dunes until organized and expressed in terms of action.
A definite chief aim. The keynote of this entire lesson may be found in the word definite. It is most appalling to know that 95% of the people of the world are drifting aimlessly through life without the slightest conception of the work for which they are best fitted, and with no conception whatsoever of even the need of such a thing as a definite objective toward which to strive. There is a psychological as well as an economic reason for the selection of a definite chief aim in life. Let us devote our attention to the psychological side of the question first. It is a well-established principle of psychology that a person's acts are always in harmony with the dominating thoughts of his or her mind. Any definite chief aim that is deliberately fixed in the mind and held there with the determination to realize it finally saturates the entire subconscious mind until it automatically influences the physical action of the body toward the attainment of that purpose. Your definite chief aim in life should be selected with deliberate care, and after it has been selected, it should be written out and placed where you will see it at least once a day. The psychological effect of which is to impress this purpose upon your subconscious mind so strongly that it accepts that purpose as a pattern or blueprint that will eventually dominate your activities in life and lead you step by step toward the attainment of the object back of that purpose. The principle of psychology through which you can impress your definite chief aim upon your subconscious mind is called autosuggestion, or suggestion that you repeatedly make to yourself. It is a degree of self-hypnotism, but do not be afraid of it on that account, for it was this same principle through the aid of which Napoleon lifted himself from the lowly station of poverty-stricken Corsican to the dictatorship of France. It is through the aid of this same principle that Thomas A. Edison has risen from a lowly beginning to become accepted as the leading inventor of the world. It was through the aid of this same principle that Lincoln bridged the mighty chasm between his lowly birth in a log cabin in the mountains of Kentucky and the presidency of the greatest nation on earth. It was through the aid of this same principle that Theodore Roosevelt became one of the most aggressive leaders that ever reached the presidency of the United States.
No position in life can be secure, and no achievement can be permanent unless built upon truth and justice.
Autosuggestion. You need have no fear of the principle of autosuggestion as long as you are sure that the objective for which you are striving is one that will bring you happiness of an enduring nature. Be sure that your definite purpose is constructive, that its attainment will bring hardship and misery to no one, that it will bring you peace and prosperity. Then apply to the limit of your understanding the principle of self-suggestion for the speedy attainment of this purpose. On the street corner just opposite the room in which I am writing, I see a man who stands there all day long and sells peanuts. He is busy every minute. When not actually engaged in making a sale, he is roasting and packaging the peanuts in little bags. He is one of that great army constituting the 95% who have no definite purpose in life. He is selling peanuts, not because he likes that work better than anything else he might do, but because he never sat down and thought out a definite purpose that would bring him greater returns for his labor. He is selling peanuts because he is a drifter on the sea of life, and one of the tragedies of his work is the fact that the same amount of effort that he puts into it, if directed along other lines, would bring him much greater returns. Another one of the tragedies of this man's work is the fact that he is unconsciously making use of the principle of self-suggestion, but he is doing it to his own disadvantage. No doubt if a picture could be made of his thoughts, there would be nothing in that picture except a peanut roaster, some little paper bags, and a crowd of people buying peanuts. This man could get out of the peanut business if he had the vision and the ambition first to imagine himself in a more profitable calling, and the perseverance to hold that picture before his mind until it influenced him to take the necessary steps to enter a more profitable calling. He put sufficient labor into his work to bring him a substantial return if that labor were directed toward the attainment of a definite purpose that offered bigger returns. One of my closest personal friends is one of the best-known writers and public speakers of this country. About 10 years ago, he caught sight of the possibilities of this principle of self-suggestion and began immediately to harness it and put it to work. He worked out a plan for its application that proved to be very effective. At that time, he was neither a writer nor a speaker. Each night, just before going to sleep, he would shut his eyes and see in his imagination a long council table at which he placed, in his imagination, certain well-known men whose characteristics he wished to absorb into his own personality. At the end of the table he placed Lincoln, and on either side of the table he placed Napoleon, Washington, Emerson, and Elbert Hubbard. He then proceeded to talk to these imaginary figures that he had seated at his imaginary council table, something after this manner. Mr. Lincoln, I desire to build in my own character those qualities of patience and fairness toward all mankind, and the keen sense of humor which were your outstanding characteristics. I need these qualities, and I shall not be contented until I have developed them. Mr. Washington, I desire to build in my own character those qualities of patriotism and self-sacrifice and leadership that were your outstanding characteristics. Mr. Emerson, I desire to build in my own character those qualities of vision and the ability to interpret the laws of nature as written in the rocks of prison walls and growing trees and flowing brooks and growing flowers and the faces of little children, which were your outstanding characteristics. Napoleon, I desire to build in my own character those qualities of self-reliance and the strategic ability to master obstacles and profit by mistakes and develop strength out of defeat, which were your outstanding characteristics. Mr. Hubbard, I desire to develop the ability to equal and even to excel the ability that you possessed with which to express yourself in clear, concise, and forceful language. Night after night, for many months, this man saw these men seated around that imaginary council table until finally he had imprinted their outstanding characteristics upon his own subconscious mind so clearly that he began to develop a personality which was a composite of their personalities.
Napoleon Hill was by no means the first to encourage the use of autosuggestion. Perhaps the best-known advocate was French psychiatrist Émile Coué. A contemporary of Freud in the late 1800s, Coué advocated the use of autosuggestion by the repetition of statements that he termed positive affirmations. He developed what he considered to be a perfect positive statement that was nonspecific and could be used to improve any aspect of anyone's life. Coué instructed his patients to repeat the following phrase several times a day. Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. Word of his success with the method quickly spread, and the use of the phrase practically became a movement in Europe. When Coué traveled to America on a lecture tour, the press of the day found his idea to be too simplistic and parodied his affirmation with their own version, "Hell's bells, I'm well." It made Coué a laughingstock, And just as it happened when stage magicians cast doubt upon the efficacy of hypnosis, Coué's method of positive affirmation fell into disrepute. Serious scientists and therapists continued to work with these methods, but as with Hill's theories about the power of the mind to heal the body, it took the openness of the latter part of the 20th century before the techniques of self-hypnosis, autosuggestion, and positive affirmations began to gain general acceptance once again. If you wish to increase your knowledge of these techniques, the following books will provide you with a diversity of information. Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawain. Psychocybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. Visualization, Directing the Movies of Your Mind by Adelaide Bry. Getting Well Again by Dr. O. Carl Simonton. And Self-Hypnosis by Leslie M. Lacron.
The subconscious mind may be likened to a magnet, and when it has been vitalized and thoroughly saturated with any definite purpose, it has a tendency to attract all that is necessary for the fulfillment of that purpose. Like attracts like, and you may see evidence of this law in every blade of grass and every growing tree. The acorn attracts from the soil and the air the necessary materials out of which to grow an oak tree. It never grows a tree that is part oak and part poplar. Every grain of wheat that is planted in the soil attracts the materials out of which to grow a stalk of wheat. It never makes a mistake and grows both oats and wheat on the same stalk. People are subject also to this same law of attraction. Go into any cheap boarding house district in any city, and there you will find people of the same general trend of mind associated together. On the other hand, go into any prosperous community, and there you will find people of the same general tendencies associated together. Those who are successful always seek the company of others who are successful, while those who are on the ragged side of life always seek the company of those who are in similar circumstances. Misery loves company. Water seeks its level with no finer certainty than we all seek the company of those who occupy our own general status financially and mentally. A Yale University professor and an illiterate hobo have nothing in common. They would be miserable if thrown together for any length of time. Oil and water will mix as readily as will people who have nothing in common. All of which leads up to this statement, that you will attract to you people who harmonize with your own philosophy of life, whether you wish it or not. This being true, can you not see the importance of vitalizing your mind with a definite chief aim that will attract to you people who will be of help to you and not a hindrance? Suppose your definite chief aim is far above your present station in life. What of it? It is your privilege, in fact, it is your duty to aim high in life. You owe it to yourself and to the community in which you live to set a high standard for yourself.
Do not tell the world what you can do. Show it.
There is much evidence to justify the belief that nothing within reason is beyond the possibility of attainment by the person whose definite chief aim has been well developed. Some years ago, Louis Victor Étange was given a life sentence in the Arizona penitentiary. At the time of his imprisonment, he was an all-around bad man by his own admission. In addition to this, it was believed that he would die of tuberculosis within a year. Étange had reason to feel discouraged if anyone ever had. Public feeling against him was intense, and he did not have a single friend in the world who came forth and offered him encouragement or help. Then, something happened in his own mind that gave him back his health, put the dreaded disease to rout, and finally unlocked the prison gates and gave him his freedom. What was that something? Just this. He made up his mind to whip the white plague and regain his health. That was a very definite chief aim. In less than a year from the time the decision was made, he had won. Then he extended that definite chief aim by making up his mind to gain his freedom. Soon the prison walls melted from around him.
The details of this case are interesting. In prison, Louis Étange decided to become a writer. He took magazines, catalogs, and anything else that contained marketing copy, and he began to rewrite it. As his confidence in what he was doing grew, he sent the revised copy to the companies that had produced it. Some were not flattered, but others recognized that he had skill. Soon he was earning a good sum of money. But more important, his dedication impressed a group of his clients who decided to help him. They petitioned the governor of Arizona for clemency. It took some time, but Etage was freed and walked out of the prison and into a job with a public relations firm.
No undesirable environment is strong enough to hold the man or woman who understands how to apply the principle of autosuggestion in the creation of a definite chief aim. Such a person can throw off the shackles of poverty, destroy the most deadly disease germs, rise from a lowly station in life to power and plenty. All great leaders base their leadership upon a definite chief aim. Followers are willing followers when they know their leader is a person with a definite chief aim who has the courage to back up that purpose with action. Even a balky horse knows when a driver with a definite chief aim takes hold of the reins and yields to that driver. When a man with a definite chief aim starts through a crowd, everybody stands aside and makes a way for him. But let a man hesitate and show by his actions that he is not sure which way he wants to go, and the crowd will step all over his toes and refuse to budge an inch out of his way. Nowhere is the lack of a definite chief aim more noticeable or more detrimental than it is in the relationship between parent and child. Children sense very quickly the wavering attitude of their parents and take advantage of that attitude quite freely. It is the same all through life. Men with a definite chief aim command respect and attention at all times.
In 1990, Douglas Grant was paralyzed in an accident that left him in a wheelchair. But instead of deciding that his life was over, Grant embarked on the pursuit of a definite aim. His father had told him he would never walk again unless he had a vision in life. Grant's vision was not just to walk, but to win a gold medal as a weightlifter. "I decided I would make it happen," he says. He created his own strategy for rehabilitation that started to restore his mobility. By 1993, he was not only walking, he had won the World Championship of Powerlifting, getting that gold medal he had dreamed of. But Grant's battle to restore his strength also excited his interest in nutrition. He created a mastermind with a leading authority on enzymes and developed an enzyme-activated nutritional system called Infinity Squared. The program is now used by such professional teams as the New York Yankees and the Houston Rockets, and Grant's company is doing millions of dollars of business each year.
The definite purpose and finance. So much for the psychological viewpoint of a definite purpose. Let us now turn to the economic side of the question. If a ship lost its rudder in mid-ocean and began circling around, it would soon exhaust its fuel supply without reaching shore, despite the fact that it would use up enough energy to carry it to shore and back several times. The person who labors without a definite purpose that is backed up by a definite plan for its attainment resembles the ship that has lost its rudder. Hard labor and good intentions are not sufficient to carry anyone through to success. For how may any of us be sure that we have attained success unless it is established in our minds some definite object that we wish? Every well-built house started in the form of a definite purpose plus a definite plan in the nature of a set of blueprints. Imagine what would happen if one tried to build a house by the haphazard method, without plans. Workmen would be in each other's way, building material would be piled all over the lot before the foundation was completed, and everybody on the job would have a different notion as to how the house ought to be built. Result? Chaos and misunderstandings and cost that would be prohibitive. Yet had you ever stopped to think that most people finish school, take up employment, or enter a trade or profession without the slightest conception of anything that even remotely resembles a definite purpose or a definite plan? In view of the fact that science has provided reasonably accurate ways and means of analyzing character and determining the life work for which people are best fitted, does it not seem a modern tragedy that 95% of the adult population of the world is made up of men and women who are failures because they have not found their proper niches in the world's work? If success depends upon power, and if power is organized effort, and if the first step in the direction of organization is a definite purpose, then one may easily see why such a purpose is essential.
The best compensation for doing things is the ability to do more.
Until you select a definite purpose in life, you dissipate your energies and spread your thoughts over so many subjects and in so many different directions that they lead not to power, but to indecision and weakness. With the aid of a magnifying glass, you can teach yourself a great lesson on the value of organized effort. Through the use of such a glass, you can focus the sun rays on a definite spot so strongly that they will burn a hole through a plank. Remove the glass, which represents the definite purpose, and the same rays of sun may shine on that plank for 1,000,000 years without burning it. 1,000 electric dry batteries, when properly organized and connected together with wires, will produce enough power to run a good-sized piece of machinery for several hours. But take those same cells singly, disconnected, and not one of them would exert enough energy to turn the machinery over once. The faculties of your mind might properly be likened to those dry cells. When you organize your faculties according to the plan laid down in the 17 lessons of this course on the law of success and direct them toward the attainment of a definite purpose in life, you then take advantage of the cooperative or accumulative principle out of which power is developed, which is called organized effort. Andrew Carnegie's advice was this: place all your eggs in one basket and then watch the basket to see that no one kicks it over. By that advice, he meant, of course, that we should not dissipate any of our energies by engaging in sidelines. Carnegie was a sound economist, and he knew that most people would do well if they so harnessed and directed their energies that some one thing would be done well. When the plan back of this course was first born, I remember taking the first manuscript to a professor of the University of Texas, and in a spirit of enthusiasm I suggested to him that I had discovered a principle that would be of aid to me in every public speech I delivered thereafter, because I would be better prepared to organize and marshal my thoughts. He looked at the outline of the points for a few minutes, then turned to me and said, "Yes, your discovery is going to help you make better speeches. But that is not all it will do. It will help you become a more effective writer, for I have noticed in your previous writings a tendency to scatter your thoughts. For instance, if you started to describe a beautiful mountain yonder in the distance, you would be apt to sidetrack your description by calling attention to a beautiful bed of wildflowers or a running brook or a singing bird, detouring here and there zigzag fashion before finally arriving at the proper point from which to view the mountain. In the future, you are going to find it much less difficult to describe an object whether you were speaking or writing, because your 17 points represent the very foundation of organization." Unquote. A man who had no legs once met a man who was blind. He proposed to the blind man that they form an alliance that would be of great benefit to both. "You let me climb upon your back," said he to the blind man, "then I will use your legs, and you may use my eyes. Between the two of us we will get along more rapidly."
Marty and Helen Shee are a brother and sister team that has proven the value of a mastermind in turning organized effort into success. In 1979, they opened a flower stall on a street corner in Los Angeles. Their first day, they took in just $1.99. Together they worked hard. One of their smartest decisions was to record as many details as possible about each of their customers. This allowed them to call and remind people of approaching birthdays, anniversaries, and special events, saving many a forgetful customer from embarrassment and earning the Shees enormous goodwill. From this simple start, the Shees began compiling a valuable database. This value was increased by the fact that the Shees were targeting the Asian American community, one that many businesses had overlooked. From there, the Shees developed a full-service referral company for new Asian immigrants who can call and talk to operators who speak Mandarin, Cantonese, Korean, or Japanese. Internet web pages are available in the same languages. Their Asian American Association is allied with such major companies as DHL, New York Life, and Sprint, marketing services to a community that is often hard to reach. Annual sales are over $200 million. The Shees' simple venture into flower selling showed them an opportunity. Their dedicated, organized effort gave them the means to fill it. Now, Fortune 500 companies are their allies in growing their business.
Out of allied effort comes greater power. This is a point that is worthy of much repetition. The great fortunes of the world have been accumulated through the use of this principle of allied effort. That which one individual can accomplish single-handed during an entire lifetime is but meager at best, no matter how well organized that individual may be. But that which one person may accomplish through the principle of alliance with others is practically without limitation. That mastermind to which Carnegie referred during my interview with him was made up of more than a score of minds. In that group were men of practically every temperament and inclination. Each man was there to play a certain part, and he did nothing else. There was perfect understanding and teamwork between these men. It was Carnegie's business to keep harmony among them, and he did it wonderfully well. If you are familiar with team sports, you know, of course, that the winning team is the one that best coordinates the efforts of its players. Teamwork wins. It is the same in the great game of life. In your struggle for success, you should keep constantly in mind the necessity of knowing what it is that you want, of knowing precisely what is your definite purpose, and the value of the principle of organized effort in the attainment of that which constitutes your definite purpose. In a vague sort of way, nearly everyone has a definite purpose, namely the desire for money. But this is not a definite purpose within the meaning of the term as it is used in this lesson. Before your purpose could be considered definite, even though that purpose were the accumulation of money, you would have to reach a decision as to the precise method through which you intend to accumulate that money. It would be insufficient for you to say that you would make money by going into some sort of business. You would have to decide just what line of business. You would also have to decide just where you would locate. You would also have to decide the business policies under which you would conduct your business. In answering the question, what is your definite purpose in life, that appears in the questionnaire that I have used for the analysis of more than 16,000 people, many answered about as follows. My definite purpose in life is to be of as much service to the world as possible and earn a good living. That answer is about as definite as a frog's conception of the size of the universe is accurate. The object of this lesson is not to inform you as to what your life work should be, for indeed this could be done with accuracy only after you had been completely analyzed, but it is intended as a means of impressing upon your mind a clear conception of the value of a definite purpose of some nature and the value of understanding the principle of organized effort as a means of attaining the necessary power with which to materialize your definite purpose. Careful observation of the business philosophy of more than 100 men and women who have attained outstanding success in their respective callings disclosed the fact that each was a person of prompt and definite decision. The habit of working with a definite chief aim will breed in you the habit of prompt decision, and this habit will come to your aid in all that you do. Moreover, the habit of working with a definite chief aim will help you to concentrate all your attention on any given task until you have mastered it.
Anyone can start, but only the thoroughbred will finish.
Concentration of effort and the habit of working with a definite chief aim are two of the essential factors in success which are always found together. One leads to the other. The best-known successful business leaders were all people of prompt decision who worked always with one main, outstanding purpose as a chief aim. Some notable examples are as follows. F. W. Woolworth chose as his definite chief aim the belting of America with a chain of stores and concentrated his mind upon this one task until he made it and it made him. William Wrigley concentrated on the production and sale of a 5-cent package of chewing gum and turned this one idea into millions of dollars. Thomas Edison concentrated upon the work of understanding physical laws and created more useful inventions than any other man who ever lived. R. H. Ingersoll concentrated on a dollar watch and girdled the earth with them. E. M. Statler concentrated on home-like hotel service and made himself wealthy and useful to millions of people. Woodrow Wilson concentrated on the White House for 25 years and became its chief tenant because he knew the value of sticking to a definite chief aim. Abraham Lincoln concentrated his mind on freeing the slaves and became our greatest American president while doing it. John D. Rockefeller concentrated on oil and became the richest man of his generation. Henry Ford concentrated on cheap transportation for ordinary people and made himself the richest and most powerful man alive. Andrew Carnegie concentrated on steel, made a great fortune, and plastered his name on public libraries throughout America. King Gillette concentrated on a safety razor, gave the entire world a close shave, and made himself a multimillionaire. George Eastman concentrated on the Kodak camera and made the idea yield him a fortune while bringing much pleasure to millions of people. William Randolph Hearst concentrated on sensational newspapers and made the idea worth millions of dollars. Helen Keller concentrated on learning to speak, and though she was deaf, dumb, and blind, realized her definite chief aim. Marshall Field concentrated on the world's greatest retail store, and lo, it rose before him, a reality. Philip Armour concentrated on the butchering business and established a great industry as well as a big fortune. The Wright brothers concentrated on the airplane and mastered the air. George Pullman concentrated on the sleeping car, and the idea made him rich and millions of people comfortable in travel. Millions of people are concentrating daily on poverty and failure, and getting both in overabundance.
There are many more examples. Marie Curie concentrated on scientific investigation and was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, and the first person to ever win it twice. Coco Chanel concentrated on elegant fashion and defined the way women dressed for a generation. Henry Kaiser concentrated on building ships and built the American Navy during World War II. Ray Kroc concentrated on hamburgers and made McDonald's the world's most successful restaurant. Martin Luther King Jr. concentrated on civil rights and led Americans of all colors forward. Sam Walton concentrated on low prices and spread his stores across the country like a carpet. George Lucas concentrated on Star Wars and made it into the most successful movie franchise of all time. Stephen King concentrated on supernatural suspense novels and became the best-selling writer of his day. Ted Turner concentrated on cable television and built an enormous media conglomerate. Harry Helmsley concentrated on real estate and amassed more than $1 billion of land in New York City. Martha Stewart concentrated on do-it-yourself projects, changed the way people thought about their homes, and created an empire of books, magazines, and television shows. Bill Gates concentrated on software and became America's richest person. Whom would you add?
Finding your life work. Thus it will be seen that all who succeed work with some definite, outstanding aim as the object of their labors. There is some one thing that you can do better than anyone else in the world could do it. Search until you find out what this particular line of endeavor is. Make it the object of your definite chief aim, and then organize all of your forces and attack it with the belief that you are going to win. In your search for the work for which you are best fitted, it will be well if you bear in mind the fact that you will most likely attain the greatest success by finding out what work you like best. For it is a well-known fact that a man generally best succeeds in the particular line of endeavor into which he can throw his whole heart and soul.
As with so much of what Hill wrote, his advice to focus on that for which you are best suited as your life's work has also been expanded upon by many other authors. It is the genesis of numerous bestsellers, including Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers and Wishcraft by Barbara Scher with Annie Gottlieb.
Let us go back, for the sake of clarity and emphasis, to the psychological principles upon which this lesson is founded, because it will mean a loss that you can ill afford if you fail to grasp the real reason for establishing a definite chief aim in your mind. These principles are as follows. First, every voluntary movement of the human body is caused, controlled, and directed by thought through the operation of the mind. Second, The presence of any thought or idea in your consciousness tends to produce an associated feeling, and to urge you to transform that feeling into appropriate muscular action that is in perfect harmony with the nature of the thought. For example, if you think of winking your eyelid and there are no counter-influences or thoughts in your mind at the time to arrest action, the motor nerve will carry your thought from the seat of government in your brain, and appropriate or corresponding muscular action takes place immediately. Stating this principle from another angle, you choose, for example, a definite purpose as your life work, and make up your mind that you will carry out that purpose. From the very moment that you make this choice, this purpose becomes the dominating thought in your consciousness, and you are constantly on the alert for facts, information, and knowledge with which to achieve that purpose. From the time that you plant a definite purpose in your mind begins both consciously and unconsciously to gather and store away the material with which you are to accomplish that purpose. Desire is the factor that determines what your definite purpose in life shall be. No one can select your dominating desire for you, but once you select it yourself, it becomes your definite chief aim and occupies the spotlight of your mind until it is satisfied by transformation into reality, unless you permit it to be pushed aside by conflicting desires. To emphasize the principle I am here trying to make clear, I believe it is not unreasonable to suggest that to be sure of successful achievement, one's definite chief aim in life should be backed up with a burning desire for its achievement. I have noticed that boys and girls who enter college and pay their way through by working seem to get more out of their schooling than do those whose expenses are paid for them. The secret of this may be found in the fact that those who are willing to work their way through are blessed with a burning desire for education, and such a desire, if the object of the desire is within reason, is practically sure of realization. Science has established beyond the slightest room for doubt that through the principle of autosuggestion, any deeply rooted desire saturates the entire body and mind with the nature of the desire, and literally transforms the mind into a powerful magnet that will attract the object of the desire if it be within reason. For the enlightenment of those who might not properly interpret the meaning of this statement, I will endeavor to state this principle in another way. For example, merely desiring an automobile will not cause that automobile to come rolling in. But if there is a burning desire for an automobile, that desire will lead to the appropriate action through which an automobile may be paid for. Merely desiring freedom would never release a prisoner if it were not sufficiently strong to cause him to do something to entitle himself to freedom. Beyond your burning desire. These are the steps leading from desire to fulfillment. First, the burning desire, then the crystallization of that desire into a definite purpose, then sufficient appropriate action to achieve that purpose. Remember that these 3 steps are always necessary to ensure success. I once knew a very poor girl from a troubled family who had a burning desire for friends, and she finally got many of them, and a husband too, but not without having transformed that desire into the development of a very attractive personality that, in turn, attracted other people. I once had a burning desire to be able to analyze character accurately, and that desire was so persistent and so deeply seated that it practically drove me into 10 years of research and study of men and women. George S. Parker makes one of the best fountain pens in the world, and despite the fact that his business is conducted from the little city of Janesville, Wisconsin, he has spread his product all the way around the globe, and he has his pen on sale in every civilized country in the world. More than 20 years ago, Mr. Parker's definite purpose was established in his mind, and that purpose was to produce the best fountain pen that money could buy. He backed that purpose with a burning desire for its realization, and if you carry a fountain pen, the chances are that you have evidence in your own possession that it has brought him abundant success. You are a contractor and builder, and like those who build houses out of mere brick and wood and steel, you must draw up a set of plans after which to shape your success building. You are living in a wonderful age when the materials that go into success are plentiful and cheap. You have at your disposal in the archives of the public libraries the carefully compiled results of 2,000 years of research covering practically every possible line of endeavor in which one would wish to engage. If you wish to become a member of clergy, you have at hand the entire history of what has been learned by men and women who have preceded you in this field. If you want to become a mechanic, you have at hand the entire history of the inventions of machines and the discovery and use of metals and metallic things in nature. If you would become a lawyer, you have at your disposal the entire history of law procedure. Through the Department of Agriculture at Washington, you have at your disposal all that has been learned about farming and agriculture, where you may use it should you wish to find your life work in this field.
Here, as in many other places, Hill seems very far ahead of his time. In this passage, he anticipates the age of the Internet, recognizing that information may be the most valuable commodity any man or woman can possess.
The world was never so resplendent with opportunity as it is today. On every hand there is an ever-increasing demand for the services of the man or the woman who makes a better mousetrap, or performs better service, or preaches a better sermon, or digs a better ditch, or runs a more accommodating bank. This lesson will not be completed until you shall have made your choice as to what your definite chief aim in life is to be, and then recorded a description of that purpose in writing and placed it where you may see it every morning when you arise and every night when you retire. Procrastination is... But why preach about it? You know that you are the hewer of your own wood and the drawer of your own water and the shaper of your own definite chief aim in life. Therefore, why dwell upon that which you already know? A definite purpose is something that you must create for yourself. No one else will create it for you, and it will not create itself. What are you going to do about it? And when? And how?
Every line a man writes, and every act in which he indulges, and every word he utters, serves as inescapable evidence of the nature of that which is deeply embedded in his own heart, a confession that he cannot disavow.
Desire. Start now to analyze your desires and find out what it is that you wish. Then make up your mind to get it. Lesson 3 will point out to you the next step and show you how to proceed. Nothing is left to chance in this course. Every step is marked plainly. Your part is to follow the directions until you arrive at your destination, which is represented by your definite chief aim. Make that aim clear and back it up with persistence that does not recognize the word impossible. When you come to select your definite chief aim, just keep in mind the fact that you cannot aim too high. Also keep in mind the never-varying truth that you'll get nowhere if you start nowhere. If your aim in life is vague, your achievements will also be vague, and it might well be added, very meager. Know what you want when you want it, why you want it, and how you intend to get it. This is known to teachers and students of psychology as the WWWH formula. What, when, why, and how. Listen to this lesson 4 times at intervals of 1 week apart. You will perceive much in the lesson the 4th time you hear it that you did not perceive the 1st time. Your success in mastering this course and in making it bring you success will depend very largely, if not entirely, upon how well you follow all the instructions it contains. Do not set up your own rules of study. Follow those laid down in the course, as they are the result of years of thought and experimentation. If you wish to experiment, wait until you master this course in the manner suggested by its author. You will then be in the position to experiment more safely. For the present, content yourself by being the student. You will, let us hope, become the teacher as well as the student after you have followed the course until you have mastered it. If you follow the instructions laid down in this course, you can no more fail than water can run uphill above the level of its source. Applying the principles of this lesson. Through the introductory lesson of this course, you became familiar with the principle of psychology known as the mastermind. You are now ready to begin use of this principle as a means of transforming your definite chief aim into reality. It must have occurred to you that one might as well have no definite chief aim unless one has also a very definite and practical plan for making that aim become a reality. Your first step is to decide what your major aim in life shall be. Your next step is to write out a clear, concise statement of this aim. This should be followed by a statement in writing of the plan or plans through which you intend to attain the object of your aim.
Almost 10 years later, when Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, he placed even greater emphasis on the need to write down your chief aim. And, as was mentioned earlier in this revised edition of The Law of Success, most of the self-improvement and motivational books written since agree that it is not enough for you to just know intellectually what you want. You must commit it to paper. If Hill believed the actual act was important, and if hundreds of other motivational experts agree, then you would be foolish not to follow this simple advice. Just do it.
Your next and final step will be the forming of an alliance with some person or persons who will cooperate with you in carrying out these plans and transforming your definite chief aim into reality. The purpose of this friendly alliance is to employ the law of the mastermind in support of your plans. The alliance should be made between yourself and those who have your highest and best interests at heart. If you are married, your spouse should be one of the members of this alliance, providing there exists between you a normal state of confidence and sympathy. Other members of this alliance may be your mother, father, brothers or sisters, or some close friend or friends. If you are a single person, your sweetheart, if you have one, should become a member of your alliance. This is no joke. You are now studying one of the most powerful laws of the human mind, and you will serve your own best interests by seriously and earnestly following the rules laid down in this lesson, even though you may not be sure where they will lead you. Those who join with you in the formation of a friendly alliance for the purpose of aiding you in the creation of a mastermind should sign with you your statement on the object of your definite chief aim. Every member of your alliance must be fully acquainted with the nature of your object in forming the alliance. Moreover, every member must be in hearty accord with this object and in full sympathy with you. Each member of your alliance must be supplied with a written copy of your statement of your definite chief aim. With this exception, however, you are explicitly instructed to keep the object of your chief claim to yourself. The world is full of doubting Thomases, and it will do your cause no good to have these rattle-brained people scoffing at you and your ambitions. Remember, what you need is friendly encouragement and help, not derision and doubt. If you believe in prayer, you are instructed to make your definite chief aim the object of your prayer at least once every 24 hours, and more often if convenient. If you believe there is a God who can and will aid those who are earnestly striving to be of constructive service in the world, surely you feel that you have a right to petition Him for aid in the attainment of what should be the most important thing in life to you. If those who have been invited to join your friendly alliance believe in prayer, ask them also to include the object of this alliance as a part of their daily prayer. Comes now one of the most essential rules that you must follow. Arrange with one or all of the members of your friendly alliance to state to you in the most positive and definite terms at their command that they know you can and will realize the object of your definite chief aim. This affirmation or statement should be made to you at least once a day, more often if possible. These steps must be followed persistently with full faith that they will lead you where you wish to go. It will not suffice to carry out these plans for a few days or a few weeks and then discontinue them. You must follow the described procedure until you attain the object of your definite chief aim, regardless of the time required. From time to time, it may become necessary to change the plans you have adopted for the achievement of the object of your definite chief aim. Make these changes without hesitation. No human being has sufficient foresight to build plans that need no alteration or change. If any member of your friendly alliance loses faith in the law known as the mastermind, immediately remove that member and replace him or her with some other person. Andrew Carnegie stated to me that he had found it necessary to replace some of the members of his mastermind. In fact, he stated that practically every member of whom his alliance was originally composed had in time been removed and replaced with some other person who could adapt himself more loyally and enthusiastically to the spirit and object of the alliance. You cannot succeed when surrounded by disloyal and unfriendly associates, no matter what may be the object of your definite chief aim. Success is built upon loyalty, faith, sincerity, cooperation, and the other positive forces with which one must surcharge his environment. Many of you will want to form friendly alliances with those with whom you are associated professionally or in business with the object of achieving success in your business or profession. In such cases, the same rules of procedure which have been here described should be followed.
Yes, he succeeded, but he almost failed. So did Robert Fulton and Abraham Lincoln and nearly all the others whom we call successful. No man ever achieved worthwhile success who did not, at one time or other, find himself with at least one foot hanging well over the brink of failure.
The object of your definite chief aim may be one that will benefit you individually, or it may be one that will benefit the business or profession with which you are connected. The law of the mastermind will work the same in either case. If you fail, either temporarily or permanently, in the application of this law, it will be for the reason that some member of your alliance did not enter into the spirit of the alliance with faith, loyalty, and sincerity of purpose. The last sentence is worthy of repetition. If you fail, either temporarily or permanently, in the application of this law, it will be for the reason that some member of your alliance did not enter into the spirit of the alliance with faith, loyalty, and sincerity of purpose. The object of your definite chief aim should become your hobby. You should ride this hobby continuously. You should sleep with it, eat with it, play with it, work with it, live with it, and think with it. Whatever you want, you may get it if you want it with sufficient intensity, and keep on wanting it, providing the object wanted is one within reason and you actually believe you will get it. There is a difference, however, between merely wishing for something and actually believing you will get it. Lack of understanding of this difference has meant failure to millions of people. The doers are the believers in all walks of life. Those who believe they can achieve the object of their definite chief aim do not recognize the word impossible. Neither do they acknowledge temporary defeat. They know they are going to succeed, and if one plan fails, they quickly replace it with another plan. Every noteworthy achievement met with some sort of temporary setback before success came. Edison made more than 10,000 experiments before he succeeded in making the first talking machine record the words, "Mary had a little lamb." If there is one word that should stand out in your mind in connection with this lesson, it is the word persistence. You now have within your possession the key to achievement. You have but to unlock the door to the temple of knowledge and walk in. But you must go to the temple. It will not come to you. If these laws are new to you, the going will not be easy at first. You will stumble many times. But keep moving. Very soon you will come to the brow of the mountain you have been climbing, and you will behold in the valleys below the rich estate of knowledge, which shall be your reward for your faith and efforts. Everything has a price. There is no such possibility as something for nothing. In your experiments with the law of the mastermind, you are jockeying with nature in her highest and noblest form. Nature cannot be tricked or cheated. She will give up to you the object of your struggles only after you have paid her price, which is continuous, unyielding, persistent effort. What more could be said on this subject? You have been shown what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and why you should do it. If you will master the next lesson on self-confidence, you will then have the faith in yourself to enable you to carry out the instructions laid down for your guidance in this lesson. Witness the lesson in this poem by John J. Ingalls. Master of human destinies am I. Fame, love, and fortune on my footsteps wait. Cities and fields I walk, I penetrate deserts and seas remote, and passing by hovel and mart and palace, soon or late, I knock unbidden once at every gate. If sleeping, wake. If feasting, rise before I turn away. It is the hour of fate. And they who follow me reach every state mortals desire and conquer every foe save death. But those who doubt or hesitate, condemned to failure, penury, and woe, seek me in vain, and uselessly implore. I answer not, and I return no more.
Neglecting to broaden their view has kept some men doing one thing all their lives.